Good evening. I can take this off. Well, welcome in person to the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan. We're excited to have you here. This is a very special event. This is one of our first in-person events, and we're excited to have our community back together. You get extra points for that. And this is kind of a little bit of a preview event, first of all, for our Israel Film Center Festival. Opens next week on the 15th. We're having a screening on the rooftop. Hopefully it won't rain, of the film Sublet by Eitan Fox. And then we have 2 weeks of fabulous Israeli new films that are really for pretty much any adult out there. So spread the word and tell your friends. Check them all out at israelfilmcenter.org. And we hope to see you there. They're also most of them are being screened virtually as well. So we could also see you at home and you could watch the conversations from there. I want to give a huge thank you to our partners tonight, to IAC. Sharon is here in the front row. To Guy and Larry's in the back. IAC members, you have a reception upstairs on the 7th floor when this is over. So please head up there afterwards. Just so you know the rules of the building, I know we're living in very confusing times. At an event, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. If you are not vaccinated, you have to wear a mask. Sorry, folks. And keep social distancing as best you can. So that's how we build community these days. You are welcome to wear masks as well. I often prefer it. Say it's good against the sun. I'm pretty pale skin. Anyway, tonight's film that we're going to be discussing, which I realize none of you have seen the film Asya, but we have here. We're very excited. This is the special opening event of Asya. They had in Israel last night, they had the opening event of Asya, which is the film's not opening till the end of this month in Israel, but they had to do the opening event last night because the filmmakers are going to be here with us. So all of Israel worked their schedule around us. And we're really happy to have here the director of the film, Ruthy Pribar. Ruthy, please join us. There you go. Thank you, Ruthy. And the star of the film, who of course many of you are familiar with, you could sit anywhere. Unorthodox and Shtisel have been all I've been hearing about. Shira Haas. Shira, thank you so much. Thank you both for being here. We have microphones.
Yeah. Yes.
I like holding them. I don't know why. I'm going to start with a few questions, folks, and we'll leave some time for you at the end to ask questions too, for those of you who are interested as well. But first of all, Asya, tell us, where did this start? Where did it all come from? It's important to note again, the film is opening this weekend in Film Forum downtown. So tell your friends, go see it yourself. We'll also have it here as part of the Israel Film Center Festival at the end of the month, virtually. But check it out on the big screen at Film Forum this weekend. So where did it come from?
It's a film, in a way, it's very personal to me. It is not biographical by any means, but it is a film that deals with a mother taking care of her ill child. 15 years ago, I've lost my sister, and it changed me in so many ways. And part of this experience came into the film. Again, not biographically, but in the emotions of separating from a very close person to you.
Now, everybody's going to call the film Asia, right?
I know, yeah.
Why did you choose the name Asya?
Well, first, it was just, I love the name Asya. In Hebrew, Asya is Asia. So it is the continent. So there was something very big about it, like having the character named as a continent. It's like, and she's a very unique person and very strong. And I just thought the name just suited her.
Thinking about the film, that fits very nicely, and hadn't thought of it that way. But she's such a strong character and really plays an amazing role. That is, of course, the mother in the film. And Shira, you play the daughter. Yes. Tell us a little bit about how you came to this role.
First of all, it's very exciting to be here. Very much. I mean, we've had some interviews already, but it's amazing for me to be here again, and it's amazing for us to be, it's our first live in front of people interview, and it's much better than Zoom. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, we're actually seeing faces.
I have pants, not pajama. It's like, it's refreshing. Thank you for
We're not barefoot.
Yeah.
I have to note that Shira was last here at our last event before we closed down.
My last event as well.
It was your last event too.
Yeah, so
our last in-person event, which was the premiere of Unorthodox, downstairs in an auditorium.
So it's a beautiful closure.
So good. Now we're reopening. This is perfect.
Right?
Yes,
so Vika now, back to Asia. What drew me to this role? I remember reading the script, and it might be easy for me to cry on camera, but in real life it's a bit different. And I remember reading it, and I couldn't stop my tears. I remember calling Ruthy, which we didn't know each other so well at this point, and I love this script, so that was me, something like that. And for me, I know that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you haven't watched it yet, so no spoilers here. But for me, it's really a story that, I mean, deals with a lot of subjects. Some of them are tough subjects, and about also dealing with relationship and the possibility of losing a person you love. But for me, it's really a story about love and about life and about connection and about relationship. And there's so much empathy and light within this script. And I think that to bring light through darkness is such an amazing, ability that Ruthy has, and it shows in the script and in the movie, I want to believe. And it was just an immediate bonding and connection for me.
And I'm going to ask you, Ruthy, about the casting process, because I know this is the question you get most. How did you cast a mother and daughter? Was that like the plan? Who came on first? Because they look so alike. For those of you who have seen the poster of the film, I sometimes I was watching the film and thinking, wait, which one's the mother, which one's the daughter? Tell us about that.
Yeah, the casting process was, we did it simultaneously. We casted, we would meet with actresses for the daughter and for the mother. And eventually we knew we would have to match them up and do a chemistry test. And I have to say, both Shira and Alona were magnificent separately, but I had no idea how similar they looked until we had them in the same room. And it was really, I was shocked to see them because first of all, the chemistry between them and the fact that they could really be a mother and daughter, I was just amazed by it. And it was funny because at the time when I met them, the first time I was 9 months pregnant and my belly was here and I was looking at them. And when we finished the audition, I said to myself, okay, now I can go and give birth because I have my 2 lead actresses and I'm ready to shoot the film. And that's what happened a week and a half later.
Did you feel the same connection?
As for the similarity, you mean? Yeah, I mean, I knew Alona before, but I didn't meet her face to face, I think, or for a short while, but I knew she's a great actress. And I got this note that we kind of like look alike. But I never thought about it. And I remember the first time I met her is when we really had this chemistry test, like Ruthy mentioned, and I arrived before. And I remember sitting outside and working like on my script, on my lines. And then I heard her coming and I looked up and then I looked up again. And I was like, wow, this really can work. And it was also physically, but I mean, emotionally as well. We had this very special bonding from the very start. And she's such an amazing human being. I mean, both professionally and both personally. And I wish she could be here as well. But you really have to see her in this movie. She's amazing, really. Alona Eve, yeah.
I mean, really an important character, and also the way the character is written. She's, first of all, it's a Russian family, a family from a Russian background. I'm interested to know why was that significant to the character, and also Russians are often portrayed in film sometimes. Sometimes negatively, I've seen in Israeli cinema. And I thought this film was refreshing, that here's a poor mother raising her daughter and she's nothing but positive. So what was the significance of choosing a family from Russian society?
First of all, I don't come from a Russian background. I mean, my grandma is from Moldova, but that's the closest I get to it. But when I started writing, there's something very Israeli about having a circle of friends and family that you can always turn to. And it's a very small country, and wherever you go, you can call someone to help you. And I wanted these women to be on their own in a way, and to have no choice but to lean on one another when they have to. So as the film progresses, they become closer and closer just because they have no other choice. So when I was writing, I made a decision to have them some kind of immigrants, and it only made sense to make them Russian because there's such a large Russian community in Israel. So this is how it turned to be. And because obviously I don't know Russian, when I started writing, I went to learn. And I studied Russian for, I think, 6 months. And it was it was very difficult. And I can't say I know Russian, but I knew enough so I could direct the film and I could read the lines that were in Russian. And for me, what I love about having this language in the film and culture is that it brings an extra layer, because the mother, she speaks in Russian and the daughter answers her in Hebrew. And that way you can really learn about their relationship and the way it progresses, even from how they speak. The mother starts speaking more Hebrew to her daughter, and the daughter starts speaking more Russian as part of them getting closer together. So.
And it also shows something about the change of generations in Israel. Yeah. And I think that's very true, that there's the generation of immigrants, but now there's a generation of Russians who were born in Israel, grew up in Israel, and are part of Israeli society and are more comfortable with Hebrew. Yes. Shira, I'm curious we'll take it to the Russian side and then we'll talk about the rest of the character. But playing that character, as far as did you feel that you needed to do any kind of preparation as being a child of a Russian immigrant in Israel?
Well, I didn't have much Russian in my role. Like you just said, it's mostly Asya, the mother. And thank God, because it's an amazing language. I would love to know it more, but it's, like Ruthy said, it's hard. It's much harder than Yiddish, I can guarantee. Really, a beautiful one, but hard. My challenge with this language, I think, was really to respond to Alona that talks to me in Russian, that I need to respond in Hebrew. And acting, you need intuitivity, if someone says it differently, you react to it a bit differently if she changed it. And once it's a language that I don't know, it was more challenging, you can say. But I mean, I asked her to record herself to me so I can listen to it and to understand exactly what she means. And I knew her lines in Hebrew almost by heart, and specific words that were like to Vika, so that was the challenge for me, more than my languages, more than my sentences, which I remember it until this day. I have like a few. Поговорим дома, а у меня нет. Я тоже, I have it here still. So yeah, that's about the language. It was mostly on Alona, yeah.
Enough to get by in Russia, that's good.
Exactly.
But now let's ask you about the process, actually. You seem to choose challenging roles, and this is possibly, from my perspective, one of the more challenging roles. What was how did you prepare for that? And Ruthy, I'd love to hear from you too, how you prepared, Shira, for that. Shira, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Yes, it was a long process together and also separately. I guess in my character, there was also the physical section of it, and also, of course, the emotional, which I think, like in real life, it goes together, but it needed to be treated separately. We went together to a few doctors, and we met a patient that has the same condition that Vika has. And we had this chart that every scene we knew exactly at what condition Vika is, and it was until the smallest details. We were so into it. I mean, back then you could tell me scene number 32 and I could tell you exactly what's happening in that scene. I mean, it was really important for me to, do it. Of course, it's not possible to do it 100%. I will never try to even say it, but to do it as accurate as possible and to do justice with this role and this story. And as for the emotional range, I mean, we had lots of rehearsals. Ruthy can also talk about that. Lots of rehearsals, getting to know each other on every scene. I mean, we really got to set to the action moment when we also knew each other so well and also knew the character, like, I mean, every bit of the character, really, yeah.
You want to tell us?
Yeah, basically, Vika in the film, she has this progressive disease.
Oh.
But when
is it identified in the film? I don't think
it's not identified in the film, and part of it is because when I wrote the script, I did not want this film to be a film about a disease. I wanted it to be about a relationship. So I wrote it without referring to any specific disease, and only once the script was ready, I went to a doctor. And he read the script and he said, okay, it fits more or less ALS, which was, so that's what we just made changes into Vika's character so it would fit the physical aspect. And then we really needed to specify every single thing that happens to Vika during the film. And because the film is not as we said, shot chronologically, we had to really make sure that if she's unable to move part of her body in one scene, then the next will have to be the same condition or worse. So it's a lot of work for an actress to keep this kind of memory within her of the way she moves her body. And I think this is something that Shira is excellent, and like just being able to take every detail into consideration and let it not influence her acting on the emotional aspect, which was definitely, I think, even more challenging than the physical aspect. But we really worked on this together, and with the doctor that was working with us, we would send him like videos. If she does like this, would that look okay? And it was a lot of work, and I think it shows in the film.
And the film went on to win all these awards. It won the Ophir Awards in Israel, both for the acting and, of course, as Best Picture and much more. And then was nominated for, you were nominated for a Golden Globe. And this has been a huge year for you. I want to talk a little bit, actually, now that you've been both in international productions and comparing it to a huge film like Asya, as far as on Israeli standards. What is the comparison between Israeli productions today and productions that you've been in from around the world? How do you feel they're different? The Israeli film industry has come such a long way.
Eventually, it's very similar in a lot of stuff. You have a team, you have a story that you want to tell, and it's really, really, really about that. It is obviously different. I mean, it's mostly shown in time. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of shooting days in Israel. They're like really the best materials, the best projects. I know for sure that I will, as long as I have anything to do with it, I will forever want to keep doing Israeli cinema. It's really, I mean, I'm super proud of all the things, and especially Asya that I did. But really, there's problem of shooting days. So I guess that's the biggest difference for me, because compared to more international projects that you have more time, that's a huge difference. But in Asia, we had really, like I said, like we talked about, we had like a very long process of rehearsals that really months together. So we got to the point that we were on set, and sometimes even a take or two, correct me if I'm wrong, were enough, because we were really specific, we were really there, and it was super important because there's really not much time. So I guess that's the huge difference, which is a lot. But other than that, I mean, cinema is cinema, and if something is worth and important for me to tell, then really it's eventually the same, I will say.
How long were you working on this film? How long did it take to make this film?
The actual shooting was 20 days.
No, but how long did you write it?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
the
a
overall
while.
process was around 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
20 days plus
but-
6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. But you go on to shoot something and that you've been working on for so long, and you only have 20 days, and it's such a big challenge. And I think a part of what made this happen for me, and in the best way possible, is the fact that we had so much time to prepare and really get to know each other and get to know the script from different characters' angles. And I think that what made it easier eventually to make the film. Yeah, it's never easy. It's like it's every day is like a challenge within itself.
So one of the great things about Israeli cinema right now is that I'm finding it extremely universal. And this film is a perfect example of that. What is Israeli about your film?
Everything is Israeli about the film. I mean, it's shot in Israel. It's told about people that live in Israel. They're Israeli. They speak in Hebrew. That is very Israeli. I mean, I'm Israeli, so I don't know. I can't make a film that's not Israeli, I guess. Well, maybe I can, but I haven't done it so far. So, yeah, I don't know how to answer that because that's just who I am. So.
I think that's perfect. It's true, and that's what makes it Israeli. It's not about telling a story about the things that people might recognize in Israel, the politics, the Orthodox, the Holocaust, whatever those things, but actually telling a story about people and the culture, and it's rich in that culture. Every detail of that film is completely Israeli, even though it tells a totally universal story.
Right, and I think the stories that we all love, it doesn't matter where they happen or what language they speak. It's as long as the story touches you in any way, then
it's thematically universal. Exactly. Like Asia is an amazing example. Also, Shtisel, you mentioned before. It's very specific, but still very universal. I think when something is working and it managed to touch other people, then it's automatically universal because, we're all human beings at the end. Yeah.
Right. It could be the most isolated, small, niche community, but if you're telling a human story and make it relatable, it could speak beyond. And I think what makes it work is that authenticity that you give to it. That you're not trying to make this a universal story. You're trying to make it a local story, and it speaks beyond. Shira, I watch a lot of Israeli films, and beyond your success now with some international stuff. I feel like you've been in every other Israeli film in the last 2 years. Is that true?
All of them.
All
Yes.
of them. It was all. It was 100%. How do you have time to do all of this?
Well, not all of them. First of all, it's important to say that another difference, between sometimes Israeli and international, that it takes a lot of time to, especially in movies, Asia is even, I think it's a short while compared to other movies that I did. It takes a lot of time until it's out there, the editing, sometimes extra filming. So if you see suddenly 3 movies the same time, it can be that one of them I shot like 3 years ago, another of them the last year. So you find the time. And like we said, it's really not a long term of filming. So there's time to film it, and I'm not in every film, I swear.
It's hard to find, even in little roles sometimes. I'm like, Shira Haas again. There she is.
A guest appearance, yeah, my contract.
It's part of it. It's not an Israeli film without that. I want to hear what's next for each of you. Ruthy, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm working on my next feature film. It's gonna, in a way, start where Asya finishes. I'm not gonna tell you how because you have to watch the film first.
Yes.
And I'm also working on a limited series that's actually happening here in the States. So it's only in development, so working on it, but I'm planning on getting there.
And Shira, what did you film 3 years ago that hasn't come out yet?
Asya. Well, there's some of you might have heard the Golda. It's called Lioness, and it will be based on Golda Meir's life, on her younger years.
And you're playing Golda?
Yes, good luck. yes, in her
young
younger
Golda.
years, again, not as a prime minister, not yet, I'm not there yet. But yes, it's still in development. It's only in the writing place right now, so it will take time. And there are more stuff, but this I can tell. All right.
We'll try to squeeze some more answers out of her and find what else is going on. Shtisel season 4, are they?
No, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I would love that. I mean, I've heard people say that because I did Unorthodox, I don't want to do the 4th season, which, I mean, I'm always up for Shtisel. It's up for the producers. So, I mean, I'll give you their numbers. You can call them. And I mean, really.
Folks, I want to take some questions from the audience if you have any. I'm going to pass the microphone around if you're comfortable. So excuse me here 1 second. And I was told, let's avoid politics tonight, okay?
Hi, I'm Carole Zabar. This is actually my film festivals.
Oh.
But Shira, I want to know, how did you decide you wanted to be an actress? And A, what did your mother say? And B, where did you study?
First of all, nice to meet you. Thank you. I never thought I'll be an actress. I always thought I'll be a graphic designer, always. I mean, when I was a child, that was my dream, to be honest. And then I went to a theater major, actually in school, in a special school of arts, which I discovered acting in a way, and I started to understand that I like it. But still, I was very young. I wasn't sure if it's something I want to do when I be older. And then the true story is that actually a casting director, which is a beautiful closure because she was also the casting director of Asya, she approached me, I think I was 16, on Facebook. Yes, it's maybe not the best message, but yeah, on Facebook, it happened through Facebook. And she was casting a movie called Princess, which was the first project that I did. And I went to the audition, and somehow the rest is history, because I mean, it was really the moment, I think, also before in the theater major, of course, but this project was really the moment that I realized that this is what I want to keep on doing. I really fell in love with that, and it keep on going. And yeah, and then after Princess came Shtisel, and it grew even more and more and more. And then I got a lot of no's as well, yes, but that was a nice beginning. No, I wasn't. Yes.
And I'll note that Princess went on to be at the Sundance Film Festival and had American distribution, and is available. You could actually see it in some places. A little bit of a disturbing film, but
yes.
an even younger Shira Haas there. Let's grab another question here from the audience.
Hi, I'm Anya. So nice to meet you. My question is about fashion. I'm actually a psychologist, and I'm interested in fashion. And I'm curious, who decides what you're going to wear when you're the actress in the movie, like when you play the role? Like, how do you decide on the clothes? Because it says so much about who you are. So I'm curious if you have a part in that, or...
You mean in a project or in real life? No,
in the
really, like today.
No, you look beautiful. But in the project, you know, just because it's part of the role, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, it's well, you have that's part of there's a professional dresser that you work with, and you just talk about the characters and come up with a set of colors and a way that they would be comfortable. And you really have to build their closet in a way. It's I have to say, it's one of the most interesting things to do, because you really get to know a character by their clothes. And especially in Asia, I think we had so many different outfits, because it's a film that has a lot of, let's say, days in life. Like, it's not about shooting days, but it's about how many days go by, yeah, in the film. So we had a lot of them. So we had a lot of different outfits, and some would return at different points. And it's really interesting to build it and to get to know your characters that way. And I think probably for actors, it's the same, because they have this day where they test all the outfits, and you look at them and now, wow, okay, this is the character.
Yeah. I always ask the costume designer, right? I always ask her to have the shoes of the character, almost in every character that I did. Also in Vika, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
I also took like a skateboard in Vika, but that's a different story. But because it's really important for me to feel comfortable, literally, in their shoes. So also in this, also in other projects, in Unorthodox, I even asked for this, the tichel, you know, the hat that Esti has. It just brings you into the character. I mean, there's this moment, a dress parade, you call it, that you put on all this outfit of the character that you play. And I honestly feel that always, in every production that I did, I mean, this moment when I finally put on the outfits, it's the moment that all of the work that we did in rehearsal, that I did alone at home, that I was writing, it all suddenly comes together also physically. Suddenly you have it physically. And in Vika, it was super important, but also in Esther and also in other characters, it's one of the most important stuff. And I always have serious interaction with the costume designer. I mean, I think it's for an actress, at least, it's one of the most important things to shape the characters. So yes, it's a good question. Thank you.
Let me follow up on that for both of you. What was Vika's costume that made it her identity? What was there for this film?
We were talking about it today.
Today, really?
Yeah, we were sitting and talking about how she was dressed in the film. And there's some things that she didn't like, and why.
In a good way.
Yeah, so Vika has this transformation in the film where she starts being, like, around the middle, she starts being more at home. And at first, there's something very uptight about her, and she's not really feeling comfortable in her body. And as she becomes more settled in her home, it's more like we've all been talking in pajamas for the past year. So it's Vika is also in her pajamas, but there's something like softer in her. So we really worked on that transformation in the film.
Also her nails, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
it starts
right.
with like black nails and slowly it goes down. And we were actually like, I don't think maybe now you will pay attention to it, but I think, I mean, we always said we will be the only ones that will pay attention to it, but it's really, it's the small details that eventually are making the difference, I want to believe. Yeah.
We have another question over here.
Well, Shira, thank you so much for being part of it. I feel we know you, having watched you so much. And having watched you through Shitzel and watched you through Unorthodox, I found your facial expression more than any of the other characters to be so amazing. Like, you captured it without even saying any words. And it always fascinated me. Was that something the director directed you, or did that come natural to you? Or do you even understand what I'm asking?
Thank you so much, first of all. I mean, I want to give a credit to, you know, we were talking before about Princess. I mentioned it, the first film that I did. And I remember that the director, which is a great, also female director, told me that sometimes I can just look at something and think about it, and that will do. And I remember, taking it very seriously. No, because I feel like sometimes also like in real life, we say a lot without saying anything at all, right? I mean, we don't always say what's on our minds. We don't always say it all out there. And I enjoy sometimes to do something that might not be very difficult for actors, but I like to remove lines sometimes if they're not necessary. Because sometimes it's more powerful, in my opinion, to say something without saying it. And those are also my favorite moments when I see a project, a movie, or TV series, to see the unsaid words in a way. So thank you. It's the greatest compliment.
Ruthy, did you have this experience while directing, Shira?
Yeah, actually, Vika's character has so little dialogue in the film. Like it's not like she doesn't speak, but I remember we were talking about one of my favorite scenes in the film, and this happens in a hotel room with Asya and Vika, and it's like a very intimate scene. And I remember I told Shira, I think this is a real, like, something changes between them after that. And she told me, you know that I don't have any dialogue in that scene. And I'm like, really? Because
yeah, I didn't need to say to Ruthy to remove lines. She was like doing it. But in a good way, in the best way possible.
But I think part of what makes Shira such a great actress is the fact that she doesn't need the dialogue to be so present in the scenes that she acts in. And when you see the film, you'll see the scene, and she's so into her role, and you really understand her so deeply just by how she looks at her mother and how she reacts to what she says to her, that you don't need to hear her speak. She speaks with her eyes, and it's so clear.
A question right here.
Hi, my name is Eileen Goldstein. For one thing, thank you very much for having these great shows, because it got me through the pandemic. I work as a registered nurse, and it has helped me survive a lot of overtime and a lot of other stuff. The one thing I had watched the trailer of Asya, and I understand that the mom character is a nurse. And one thing I'm just very curious about, does the mom feel like because her daughter is, going through a rebellious stage, does she give her more room? Or do they start reversing roles? Because from what I understand, the mom is a bit of a wild person herself. Does it seem that the mom starts becoming more like the kid, and the kid starts becoming more like the adult? Just curious.
I don't think it starts in the film. I think it's like that. Yeah, there is a small age difference between the mother and daughter in the film. She had her when she was very young, so she never really was the kind of mother that you would expect. And she is, in a way, still young, and she likes to go out and she likes to party. And her daughter is not always feeling comfortable with that. So they are changing roles as the film progresses, but it's like, it's not that it starts out that way. It's just, they change throughout the film.
No, and it's also interesting that Asya takes care of older people, and in her daughter, it's harder for her to do. And I think that's also the journey that she kind of like goes through this film, to also take care of her own daughter, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because she is able to take care of others much more than she's able to see her own daughter.
Thank you.
I think in many ways, one of the themes of the film for me as a viewer was growing up. And I think that goes for both characters in some ways.
Right, yeah.
Right over here.
Hi, I have two little questions for you, Ruthy. I am a student filmmaker, and I want to become a director someday soon, I hope. And My first question is, so what's something you wish you knew when you were starting your career? Like something vital that maybe can help me. And also my second question, how did your direction style change or evolve during the movie? Or what makes it unique?
Oh, wow.
Good luck.
Big questions. I remember starting film school. I wasn't sure I was gonna be a director or a writer director, because I just wasn't sure that I have something interesting to tell. And I think everybody's got something interesting to tell. And it's not about looking for something that is, I don't know, out there. Because I remember I thought, okay, nothing, my life is pretty simple. It's not that I had like, I don't know, it's just, but I speak about human emotions, and that I can relate to and that I can write. So you have to really find what gets you motivated in terms of what you cannot let go of, what you really want to write, what you really want to see on screen. And then if you get in touch with yourself, it will just make it easier to find what kind of film you want to make. So I hope this answered your question. As for changing the way I direct or the way I see filmmaking, I think it's finding the right partners that you make films with, especially like a cinematographer. Because when you work with other people, you create this artistic dialogue that changes the way you perceive your own script or the way you perceive your own vision. And it challenges you in a way that you have to explain. But if it's a good relationship, then these conversations just lift up the film because you understand what you wrote better and you make it better on set.
Hi, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us here today. My name is Lavi. My question is for Shira. Are there any rituals that you partake in prior to a specific role that have really helped you get into character?
Shalom. Yes, there are. It really changed, of course, between one character to another, but there are some things that I find that are helpful. First of all, sorry for my language, but the script is kind of like, as for a beginning, it's like a Bible. You know, I read it a lot of times and I find myself write, a lot of things on it, things that I will not necessarily even understand what I just wrote later, but I feel like it's getting there somewhere. Other things that I love to do is really take references. In Asia, for example, also thanks to Ruthy, she recommended me a book of Stefan Zweig, Beware of Pity. It was an amazing book, by the way, but also a great reference. And also another psychiatrist, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, that we knew, I know a lot of now, was also a great help, and also in other projects. And also other fun stuff. I have a playlist also for a lot of the characters that I play, which is mostly not like music that they will hear, not at all, but things that will kind of like remind me of it or brings me to the mood or stuff like that. It's very important for me to always be kind of like in love and obsessed in a way with the character that I play. So I always try to find things that will keep me excited and curious, and to keep the creativity kind of like up, because I think eventually you have to be a tiny bit even obsessed with what you do in a good way. So thank you for the question.
Shira, hi. Did you serve in the Israeli army? And if so, how did that affect your acting career?
I had medical equipment. How would you say that?
She was
Exempt.
discharged.
Exemption.
Yes, but I volunteered for a short term at the theater army. It didn't affect much my career as an actress. I'm glad that I did it. And that's about it.
We're going to take two last questions. I know there's a lot of hands up.
Okay, thanks so much for this wonderful conversation. And my name is Max. I happen to be a Russian Israeli, that is somebody who lived in Israel for quite a long time.
I'm so sorry about the sentences then that I said before. I know it
good,
sounded awful. The accent was awful.
No, that was good. I thought. So the question is about that, actually, Shira and Ruthy.
No.
Yeah. So the representation of Russians in the Israeli movie has not been as positive. Since the beginning of the Russian Aliyah, right, Russian immigration, Russian men were presented in a certain way, very characteristic, and Russian women were presented in a certain way, right? Things have changed as time passed, right? So today, there's a very different look at this, I think, and there is a very different take on how Russian immigrants are represented in the Israeli cinema. But still, a question. So, and Ruthy, thank you for describing how you studied Russian. Really, I think it's fantastic. But what kinds of other things? And I understand that you had a Russian actress on the set as well, right? That was able to introduce some of the cultural things. But what kinds of other things helped you to expose yourself to the Russian culture, right? And what kind of behaviors actors will do?
I have to say, Russian culture was not foreign to me. I had a Russian boyfriend. I practically lived at his house. His parents spoke Russian. We would eat brown bread every Friday that he brought from a special bakery that only had Russian food. So I mean, and in general, if you live in Israel, definitely in our generation, I have so many friends from Russian background. It's really I didn't have to do a lot of research. I did make sure that nothing in the script would be stereotypical, or I made sure that quite a few people would read it and say, okay, this doesn't make sense, or because the last thing I wanted to do is to create characters that somehow would touch people in the wrong way, or I don't know, make the wrong impression. So I was very, very sensitive about this, but I have to say, so many people have watched the film. The film actually came out in Russia, which is funny.
You were there.
Yeah, we were in Moscow a month ago. That was actually the first live screening that I attended after this year of pandemic. And I was so shocked to see how Russians reacted to the film, both because of some cultural references, a song that is in the film. And it was really funny that after all this year, the first live premiere would be in Russia, where the characters in a way originated. So it was a good experience.
Last question we're going to take from this side.
Hi. So first of all, I want to say that, all these Israeli series and all these Israeli films are affecting also the next generation that did not grow up in Israel. Like, I'm a mom of 2 kids, and my kids never watched any Israeli movies or Israeli series, and now they're watching. So this is also helping us to bring the Israeli culture to the next generation. So my question that I have is, what happened in Israel with this explosion of TV series, movies in the last, 10 years? It wasn't there before. So what happened that it changed so much?
I think it's money. It's very simple. I think talent was there, just not a lot of money. And then they had a law that came out that brought more money to cinema. And then films started coming out and garnering success worldwide. So just put more money into Israeli cinema and you'll get a lot more of this good stuff.
I think, oh, yes. of course it's money. But no, I think that's something also, it's mostly my answer, mostly about television, I can say, because I think something happened in the last years. It really, it's very bold in Israel, but it's worldwide, I think. You see it in Fauda, Shtisel, Casa de Papel, right? Other stuff, Netflix. I mean, I think that's something, maybe I'm naive or optimistic when I say that, but I think people are sometimes tired of seeing themselves. I think it's more powerful a lot of times, and there's more curiosity right now to see something a bit different from you, or a lot of different so-called from you, and to say, whoa, it's still me, it's still similar. I think it's more interesting sometimes, and I think people want to see that. You see it very much in America, but also in other places in the world. And really in Israel, I think you see it a lot because there are just great talents there. That's why it comes from there, I think, really. But you see it from other countries. But there are amazing creators and directors and actors in Israel. And it also, Ruthy mentioned money. So sometimes it takes years to make a movie or a television or TV series. It's not like a year and go to production. You need to get foundation, get the money. It needs to be excellent. So it gets to the point that it is very good. So yeah, hopefully it will keep on going, and yes, hopefully we will have more money.
I'll add to that it also, that I think the example of Asia as being a film that really is telling its story in its own voice and not trying to be something else. It's not trying to be American cinema. It's not trying to be something from outside. I think that was a big change that happened for Israeli cinema, and Israel learned to tell its own stories, and it takes a few generations of developing that kind of culture, but now it's there, and I think Israeli filmmakers are fluent in their own culture, and it's a beautiful thing. I want to thank both of you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really... I want to, of course, remind everyone, the film opens in Film Forum this weekend. Yes. Tell your friends to go see it. It's time to see movies in the movie theater again. I know we got through the pandemic by watching Shira and her shows on Netflix, but sorry, Netflix, your time's up. We're coming back. Please join us for more. I want to give a big thank you to our partners, IAC, American Israel Council, who have a reception upstairs on the 7th floor for their members. So you can join them on the 7th floor in the conference room. Thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Join us for the rest of the Israel Film Center Festival coming up next week. Thank you.